Would Doug or McNeil please come up? Douglas Duggar McNeil grew up on Coburg Road. As a kid, he was an outstanding baseball player and excelled in water sports. He educated himself on a football scholarship, but became best known in the Maritimes as an outstanding hockey player. In the late 30s, Nova Scotian senior hockey reigned supreme. The Halifax Wolverines won the Canadian Championship in 1936, in a tournament that should automatically have sent them off as Canada's Olympic team. Many of us here are far too familiar with how they were cheated out of that experience. Be that as it may, a decade later, senior hockey was taking a backseat to a dominating junior team from the St. Mary's Winter Gardens. The Winter Gardens athletic programs became possible when the Halifax Catholic Archdiocese took over the land which had housed the Goresbrook Golf Course and the old Collins Estate, today, of course, at St. Mary's University. Duggar and his buddies learned their hockey on the outdoor rinks developed through the efforts of men like Frank Carroll, Jimmy McDonald, Gerald Reardon, and Bunny Mulcahy. The end result of giving the local kids the opportunity to spend endless hours on the ice was the best junior hockey the province has ever seen. The team seriously challenged for Canada's Memorial Cup. The unquestioned leader of that team, ladies and gentlemen, was Duggar McNeil. Former NHL star Marty Barry coached them to Nova Scotian and Maritime championships as they went on to lose to Ottawa's St. Patrick's in the Memorial Cup playdowns in Ontario. When the two teams met in Halifax later in the year, the Duggar-McNeil-led Halifax team won the first of the two-game series 11-2 and the second 8-2. The Herald write-up attributed the inability of Ottawa to get the puck into the St. Mary's end to the stalwart defense of both Duggar and his teammate Bingo Ernst. If anyone doubted their ability to play with the best junior teams in the country, they had only to wait 1 month for their game with the Montreal Junior Canadiens, who were led by Howie Morant's son. 5,000 fans raised the Forum roof as the locals beat them 7-2. The next night, 5,700 saw a great hockey game despite a disappointing 2-2 tie. They all left talking about the young Halifax sensation Duggar McNeil, who the Halifax Chronicle described as the best player on the ice. Alec Nickerson had good reason when he spoke of the inability of the sensational squad to get good junior competition in the Maritimes. They beat Sydney early in the year 16-1, and the best of the university team, St. Francis Xavier, Father Kehoe, 12-6, before winning the city championship 12-2 over Dartmouth. In order to get competition, they had to play against senior teams or they had to import junior teams from Ontario. The Halifax Crescent senior team became angry because the flashy upstarts were drawing capacity crowds when they couldn't break even. They challenged the junior club to a game to remind Nova Scotians that senior hockey was still the best. It didn't work. 4,000 watched as Duggar got 3 assists in a game which saw the boys beat the men 9-7. In the Nova Scotia Championships, Duggar had 2 goals and 4 assists. They then went on to play New Brunswick for the right to represent the Maritimes and the Canadiens. They beat St. John 7-0 and 8-5 to end the 1947 season with a 19-0-1 record. They were 6-5 favorites to win the Nationals, but once again saw their dream dissolve as they lost the first game to the Junior Canadiens 5-4 in overtime. And then, in front of an unbelievable 6,600 standing room only crowd in the Halifax Forum, they lost the second 7-5. Duggar was again cited as the most outstanding defensive player in the series. They finished the playoff in Montreal, losing the final game 8-4 before 11,000 fans. The tougher the game, the more outstanding Duggar became. I've discovered in my brief 2 decades of residence here in Nova Scotia that nothing pleases Blue Nosers more than beating Upper Canadians. The Ottawa St. Pats were dominating their league in 1948, in large part because they were physically intimidating. Duggar and his now experienced club, were not cowed. Twice, in fact, with Duggar in the thick of things, they were so unintimidated that police had to come on the ice to break up the intimidation contests. The locals won the fights, and they also won the game 7-1. The stories helped attract 4,765 fans to the Forum the next night. They didn't see as many fights, but they did delight as the St. Mary's team won an excellent hockey game 5-4. Later, they brought down the Montreal Royals and once again put 4,500 fans in the Forum. Duggar did get in a fight with future NHL star Dickie Moore, but the highlight of the night, and perhaps of Duggar's junior career, occurred when he stole a puck and stick-handled through the entire Montreal team to score a shorthanded goal which proved to be the winner in the 5-4 victory. Even in this era when the NHL had only 6 teams, outstanding junior play like Duggar McNeil's did not go unnoticed. He signed a contract and became the property of the Montreal Canadiens. He left Nova Scotia to play 4 years with the Montreal organization in Quebec. During the 4 seasons, he played with the likes of Jacques Plante, Dickie Moore, and Boom Boom Geoffrion. Duggar returned in 1952 with a number of his Montreal players to take on the task of being player-coach of the Halifax Atlantics. He accomplished far more than anyone expected. The Atlantics went on to dominate the Canadian senior hockey scene from 1952 to 1954, during which time they won 2 Alexander Cups. He coached and played with players like Billy Watson, Huey Campbell, Carol Bloom, Kenny Loffman, Billy Ford, Bob Bonus, and Blue Noser Muckle Hollett. His coaching credentials established, Duggar was enticed to leave home again to coach the Moncton Hawks. Once more, the man who doesn't seem to have failed at anything he put his mind to led the Moncton club to the Allen Cup finals before bowing to Kitchener. On his return to Nova Scotia, he led the Halifax Wolverines to the provincial championship in 1958. He also helped develop many young players during the several years he coached the Halifax Blazers in the Metro Valley Junior League. Duggar's also managed somehow to squeeze in a political career, serving in the legislature during Robert Stanfield's reign. He served in many public service capacities, including being chairman of the World Trade and Convention Center. He has also exhibited enough business acumen over the years to own half of the Bears Road Shopping Center. On any given day, you can go buy a suit, eat a meal, and then spend the night getting sloshed in a lounge without ever leaving a Duggar McNeil-owned establishment. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at a man who was so respected as a member of the Legislative Assembly hockey team that in 1970, Premier Gerald Regan kept him on, stating that losing an election was much too trivial a reason for dropping him from the team. Despite his busy schedule, he managed during this period to woo and wed his lovely wife, Marion. They have 3 kids, Ross, Marianne, and Marie. Marie, of course, is the young woman who's taught more youngsters how to skate than anyone else in history. It's also rumored that she and Rob McCall, when she and Rob McCall won their Canadian championship, Duggar began to be known around town as Marie's dad. When Duggar McNeil played hockey, there was no television, there was no lounge entertainment, there was little live drama, no concerts, and few movie theaters. Sport in many ways enjoyed its heyday. May I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the best of the best, Douglas Duggar McNeil.
I'd like to ask Frank McDonald, Selection Committee representing the Fundy region, to come forward for a presentation. I watched you shake your head as Sandy attempted to describe some of the days on the ice. Maybe you could describe Duggar McNeil to us.
I don't know. I was always a very placid guy. I don't know.
Your amateur career, before you turned professional, is there a particular highlight?
Well, I guess the highlight had to be St. Mary's Juniors, the junior team that played here for, as Sandy has already certainly done a great job with. But that St. Mary's Junior team, I guess it being pretty well all local guys, I think that was the thing. We had great unity with that team. It was just a step away from being a real contender, 1 or 2 players away from, I think, being a Memorial Cup winner. And, you know, we just had great unity there. They were a great bunch of local guys. I think it was something that comes along every now and then. You hit a decade where you'll get a group come together like that. And I haven't seen one since. And certainly they were great fellas, and we did have a pretty good hockey team at that time, and I think that's certainly one of the highlights of the amateur part of it, yeah.
And then you moved on to a professional career with the Montreal Canadiens. Is there a moment which you can share with us?
Well, I of course, went to Montreal, played for 4 years in Montreal. A number of highlights there, but of course, playing then when there were 6 teams, you were always picking up the paper and hoping that Butch Bouchard or Doug Harvey or somebody broke their leg, so you get a chance to go in. You know, that was living through the tough years there, but certainly enjoyed it. I have no regrets about playing hockey in Montreal. I enjoyed it very much, but I guess you get back to highlights. You get back to when I came back for the first year in Halifax coaching the Atlantics as a playing coach. It was new to me. And I guess we assembled there I look at it as one of the finest hockey clubs that was ever put together outside of a National Hockey League team. And we had some tremendous stars there, and fellows that are still around, still playing. Bob Bonus is still playing. And Muckle is still around, but we had a great hockey team here, and a few of them were local guys too. But we did bring in, we were fortunate enough to bring in some players. Canadians were very good to me. When I left, they did give me some players, helped me out all they could, and I think we put together one of the best hockey clubs that ever represented Nova Scotia, represented Halifax.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame, Douglas Duggar McNeil.